Owners of daycares recently found out the state is sticking with cuts when it comes to school-age children.
One owner told Tulsa's investigative reporter Jana Clark the state won't deal with the elephant in the room, and it's hurting daycares and families.
It's Jana's latest FOX23 investigation.
When the federal government shut down in October, daycare owners like Mac McCrory got this email from Oklahoma's Department of Human Services. It said, "It is with sincere regret that we share that DHS must make adjustments to the child care subsidy programs." And by adjustments, they meant cuts. Removal of the $5 per day for school-age children ages 6 and older. The reason for the cut? Due to the ongoing federal government shutdown. Mac co-owns Legacy Child Care Centers in Tulsa. He says this isn't the first time daycare centers got bad news about funding.
You could go back as far as last fall when they started to claw back some of the funding that came out during the COVID pandemic.
So it's not just been one cut or two cuts, just an ongoing thing?
The budget as it is not sufficient to maintain the child care industry at its current levels.
Mac hoped when the government reopened, the frozen funding would come back too.
All along the way we were told, we're going to try and find a way to make this permanent. We're going to try and find a way to make these funding levels part of your base rate, and now they're clawing them all back.
Feel like it was lip service?
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit of lip service.
That didn't happen. The cuts stayed. He says he just saw this email. The temporary policies during the shutdown remain in effect.
They're still not going to pay it?
Yep, as far as we know, they're still not going to pay it.
The reason they still give? The prolonged shutdown has left us with no other option.
What do you think about the fact that they said it's because of that?
I think to a large degree it's cover. It's a convenient calamity that they can blame the freeze on, the cuts on. They've known going into this previous fiscal year that the budget was not sufficient to maintain the levels that we had.
When you saw that, what did you think about it?
It's incredibly frustrating. We stayed open all through the pandemic when schools and businesses were closing and people were still trying to figure out what was going on. The state requested that child care providers stay open so essential workers would have somewhere to send their kids so they could go do their job.
Child care centers got a lot more funding when COVID happened. Mm-hmm. Is that fair to say?
That is definitely fair to say. The child care industry in Oklahoma was woefully underfunded prior to COVID. That is the closest thing to stable that this industry has ever been.
Max says since COVID, the costs of everything continue to go up, and employment is by far the biggest expense.
Where's Jacob? 1, 2, yay!
It is a labor-intensive industry. There is not a lot of automation in our industry. We don't have a self-checkout counter or a kiosk. We have teachers in there with the kids every single day.
Most of the funding burden comes from the federal government, not from Oklahoma's DHS. In this email from DHS, it says 75% of funding comes from federal sources, but cuts keep coming from the state.
It's not unreasonable to say that the federal government shutdown probably had some impact on their operations.
Do you see it as a legitimate reason or a handy excuse?
It's a handy excuse, but the math still doesn't math. So the state needs to find the funds to get budget levels to where they need to be.
And when you say the math doesn't math, does that mean that you just don't have the funding you need to survive?
At current levels, we don't. Those of us who know what's going on at the Capitol, we know that the elephant in the room is the lack of state funding.
Mac is also on the board of the Oklahoma Child Care Association.
What's been the talk at those meetings lately?
The talk of the meetings lately has all been centered around the cuts that DHS is enacting.
He says if the funding problem isn't fixed, daycare centers will struggle to stay open.
What is the real impact to you and to families?
Well, the most immediate impact for our families, especially those with school-age children, is that their contracts aren't going to be renewed. So if their kids come to us after school or during holiday breaks or during the summer, they're going to have to find somewhere else to send them.
I reached out to DHS. I asked about the change to subsidy rates and about the reason DHS gave daycares the federal government shutdown. I told DHS some say they don't see it as a reason, but as an excuse. DHS wrote this in a statement. We are awaiting clarity from our federal partners and currently evaluating the program's long-term stability beyond COVID-era add-ons. In addition to assessing the impact from the shutdown, our commitment is to move as quickly as possible, but responsibly, and always with our state's most vulnerable children at the center of our decisions. Max says if legislators are trying to figure out how big of a piece of the financial pie to hand out, he thinks funding for childcare centers is a good investment.
These are Oklahoma's children. These children are our future. And if you want better K through 12 scores, invest in early childhood. If you want increased labor participation, invest in early childhood. If you want lower incarceration rates, invest in early childhood. Other than the money up front, there's literally no drawback to investing in early childhood in Oklahoma.
In Tulsa, covering news that matters, Jana Clark, Fox 23 News.
Do you have a tip or issue that you think Jana Clark should investigate? Let us know. Email FOX23 Investigates at fox23.com or call 918-388-5354 or search Fox 23 Jana Clark on Facebook.